Now we have to talk about the problem child. Scary Movie 2026. Rated R, an hour and 36 minutes. It's from Paramount Pictures. Yuck. It's a comedy horror directed by Michael Tiddes. It stars Anna Faris, Regina Hall, Marlon Wayans, and Shawn Wayans. It has been 13 years since Scary Movie 5 disappointed fans and left the franchise dead in the water. Could bringing back the original writers and cast reinvigorate this once sharp satire on horror films? I'll tell you the answer, but first, if you enjoy this video and you want to see more, hit like, subscribe to the channel, and check out my Patreon page where these reviews are sent right to your inbox hours or days before they make it to YouTube. The Wayans brothers are clearly bitter about how things went down. To this day, Scary Movie is one of the highest grossing R-rated comedies ever. I and many around my age adore it and view it as our generation's Airplane. With its out-of-the-gate success, the Wayans brothers were quickly greenlit for a second Scary Movie, which I still found funny, but as many fans would assert, it is the weaker of the two. From there, the Wayans brothers lost ownership of the franchise, and the third and fourth films were handed over to the director of the aforementioned comedy classic Airplane, David Zucker. Zucker brought a distinctly lighter tone to the franchise, which then also began being written by Craig Mazin, the screenwriter who would eventually give us Chernobyl and The Last of Us, and The Sheep Detectives. What? While 3 and 4 are often looked down upon by fans of the franchise, I still very much enjoy these films. The first 4, regardless of who's steering the ship, make their laughs with slapstick comedy. Slapstick legend Leslie Nielsen even makes an appearance in the Zucker Scary Movies as President of the United States. For all the credit the Wayans brothers would like to take for creating the parody series, it was Anna Faris and Regina Hall who largely propelled the franchise forward. Their characters, Cindy, an offshoot of Neve Campbell's Sydney from Scream, and Brenda became the face and comedic center for the Scary Movie films. I don't really know how Anna Faris is as an actress. I've seen her in some seriously unimpressive things, but I think, especially with time, her performance as Cindy Campbell is one of the funniest female performances ever put to screen. Her airheaded ditz of a character will forever be one of the funniest things I've ever seen. For instance, like in Scary Movie 4, when she meets a Japanese ghost child and instead of speaking Japanese, begins to just list Japanese brands, which the film helpfully translates into an actual dialogue. Her dry delivery is priceless. But alas, all good things must come to an end. Scary Movie 5 featured none of the original core cast and failed to bring audiences back. They survived without the Wayans, but there is no surviving without Anna Faris and Regina Hall. When it was announced that the Wayans had regained control of their Scary Movie intellectual property, I was very happy for them, as they deserved ownership of it. But with that was the announcement of a 6th film, with the entire legacy cast returning. Fans will be flocking to the theater this weekend for Scary Movie 2026. It is undoubtedly going to continue a solid streak at the box office right now, and rocket to one of the top 3 spots if it hasn't already by the time this is posted. And while there are some really funny moments in the new Scary Movie, I just gotta be honest with you folks, this was not good. Where to begin? Well, let's start with the writing. It is rushed at best and incoherent at worst. There is really no plot. While all the Scary Movies have had really convoluted plots to tie together so many different bits, this 6th installment doesn't even try. Instead, we really get a series of sketches, some of which have no logical connection to the scene just before it or after it. The writing also reveals a lot about the Wayans brothers going into this. While it could be argued this is not called Scary Movie 6 because it is mocking the trend in horror reboots like Halloween 2018 or Scream 2022, I am not as convinced. The Wayans brothers has even gone as far as alluding in interviews that it wasn't called 6 because they didn't want to acknowledge the sequels they weren't a part of. This is supported by the numerous attempts at jokes in the script poking fun at Anna Faris for taking the roles in 3 and 4. Over the course of Scary Movie 6, it must come up over 10 times how bitter the Wayans brothers are about their franchise being taken from them. This is made worse by the fact, simply put, the cast is doing a terrible job here. Anna Faris has a slow delivery now. She is doing an older woman sort of accent that doesn't fit her at all. We meet Cindy again here. She is mirroring Jamie Lee Curtis in Halloween 2018. There's so much room for comedy in that idea, but the bits are so rushed and ham-fisted that it just ends up falling totally flat. Marlon Wayans as Shorty, one of the best characters ever, is terrible here. Shorty was an actual character in Scary Movie 1 and 2. I mean, sure, he was heightened and eccentric and more obnoxious than anyone, but he was also fully developed. Here, Shorty constantly falls back on his catchphrase, "Oh shit, son!" but fails to understand why the reasons that was ever even funny. Shorty is also the type of performance I really feel could only be done and created by a young, hungry comic. When Marlon Wayans created Shorty, he was at the peak of his comic creativity. When we look at Shorty now, this is a successful, older Marlon Wayans with different life experiences, and frankly, the character of Shorty just isn't visible to me anymore. It feels like a costume. The other returning cast members are basically non-existent, stopping in for one or two scene cameos, including Shawn Wayans as not gay Ray, who is still gay, tired, unfunny joke now. John Abrams as Bobby contributes virtually nothing. Lachlan Monroe as the micro-manhooded jock Greg has a couple of scenes making the same jokes as they did in Scary Movie 26 years ago. Chris Elliott as Hanson from Scary Movie 2 stops in to do a parody of Longlegs. It contributes nothing. I don't even think he had any dialogue. Dave Sheridan returns as Officer Doofy, a role which doesn't even make sense now because, spoiler, he was not autistic and was the actual killer at the end of Scary Movie, but that's completely forgotten about. That is just, it's completely retconned. I'd argue the only performance who walks away unscathed is Regina Hall as Brenda. She is the only person in the cast that still reads as that character, and she's hilarious. She's great. Let's talk about the comedy, though. There are a lot of misses here. One thing with slapstick that makes movies like The Naked Gun so timeless is that a lot of the gags are visual. They are often stupid things we can all relate to, or taking people to literally. I think of the scene where Leslie Nielsen and Priscilla Presley are kissing. Jane looks up and tells Frank that she only practices safe sex, and in the next shot, both characters are wearing body-sized latex condoms. Come on. The first 4 Scary Movies, and even 5 despite its failures, used that style of comedy. It's why Scary Movie is still funny today. Which direction should Carmen Electra run? Safety or death? She chooses death. Scary Movie 6 has a lot of topical social humor. Anyone who follows my podcast knows I'm a political guy, and I love political humor. But not here. This isn't clever enough, or frankly, relevant to what this film is supposed to be. This is supposed to be a satire on horror films, not a social commentary. It just doesn't work. The best performance in the movie, by far, comes from Olivia Rose Keegan, who plays Sarah, Cindy's daughter, who didn't exist, by the way, as of Scary Movie 4. Poor Cody, I guess he died in war. Anyway, I was really unimpressed with Scary Movie 6. I'm not particularly surprised that this movie just didn't live up to the hype, but boy am I sad, at the thought that it could have. I gave this 1.5 stars out of 5.